Hi, I'm Terri Murphy, Senior Editor for Realty Times, Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, and in the Men's Room with Murph. And today I have a delightful man in the men's room. We've been longtime friends. His name is David Newman. He's our guest today. He's a CSP, that means Certified Speaking Professional. This goes way back to our NSA days. He's the author of a brand new book we're going to be talking about today called Market Eminence. Get this, 22 strategies to build a bold personal brand, become a business celebrity, and drive unstoppable growth. Now, who wouldn't want that? I mean, seriously. Uh, David, you've worked with founders and CEOs and professional service people. Um, and here's the thing, category of one. And you know what that means because we both know the author of that book, category one. So you wrote Do It Selling, Do It Speaking, which I have, and you can see all the yellow
Yeah.
stickies in there. Do It Marketing, which is how we actually met. You're running different coaching groups and consulting. God, I mean, and a podcast, and you have Gracie, and you like to play. So
That's
how
true.
are you doing all this? We all want to know.
I am taking my Terry Murphy vitamins. I think I think that's the answer. I'm just following in your footsteps, my friend. No,
I
it's fun. I mean, it's when you're sort of in the zone, in the groove, the way that you are in your business, the way that I am in my business. You just kind of wake up and every speech, every client, every consult is just another opportunity to have fun with somebody and help them out.
That's essentially what it is for me. I mean, when you walk the walk, when you've been on the runway and you know where to divot and pivot and whatever, you can help other people, and that's really fun. And you do it
Yes.
so well. The book that you've got coming up, which is the full release, is when?
So we are doing a soft launch, which is Kindle only in November, and then the full launch is going to be January of 26, where the Kindle and the paperback and the Audible and every possible version, every possible format, every possible channel is going to have the book available.
Do you see why this man needs decaf? I mean, seriously. So, what's your definition of market eminence? Because, the market's so flooded. We know that the attention spans are in the negatives. We know that every interruption costs 23 minutes and 17 seconds to recover. More
Yes.
people want to learn, but they don't take the time. They skim as opposed to deep dive. Tell me uh, what, how are we going to change from reading this book?
So that is such a great question because when I was thinking about the marketing and sales and business development challenges of 2026 and beyond, it's exactly that world. Hyper noisy, short attention spans, all of those factors, all of those trends that you just pointed out. And then the question arises with my audiences, my clients, well, David, how do I get attention? How do I win and keep attention on our products, our services, our company, our value prop, our messages? And my answer to that, I put together an answer, which is market eminence, but there's three building blocks of that to answer your question. Building block number one is simply visibility. So we don't buy products, we don't buy services, we don't buy people, we don't buy expertise sight unseen. So job number one is to get seen. Second piece of the puzzle, second leg of the stool, is respect. So respect is earned when you truly understand the person that you're talking to. You understand what motivates them, what the challenges, heartaches, headaches, problems, goals, dreams, aspirations, where they want to go, what's in their way, what makes them nuts about your category of product, service, or solution, and then speak to them in that problem centered language. So many times we speak in solution centered language that makes us sound like everyone else that provides a solution similar to ours. If we can be the most articulate and we can be the most pointed and specific in talking about the problems that our company or our product or our service solves, we automatically get credit for having the best solution. I don't know why that is, but that's how human psychology works. And so earning that level of respect by being so intimately familiar with our prospects, how they think, how they talk about the problem, to go to a 1940s detective film noir metaphor, we need to know how they like their eggs. If you're a gumshoe and you're following a suspect, you need to know how they like their eggs. And then the third part of this, the final part of this, so we have visibility is number one, respect through intimacy is number two. The third element is brand preference. Brand preference, and I talk about this in the book, it's a combination of positioning and differentiation so that it is actually risky, dangerous, and dumb to work with anyone else, or is risky, dangerous, and dumb to hire anyone else other than you, because you are not only the safest choice, you are not only the smartest choice, you're the choice that they resonate with. And they're afraid if they go elsewhere, they're not going to get that level of expertise or intimacy or familiarity with your problems, heartaches, headaches, etc. So those are the three legs of the stool. Those are the three parts of the formula. Market eminence is visibility plus respect plus brand preference.
Yeah, and I just want to accentuate the trust part because it's becoming more and more confusing what's factual and what isn't. We
Yes.
know that. And I just feel like we need to punctuate the fact, and having worked with you for so many years, I know that the trust factor is there because you walk the talk. I mean, we've watched you grow and we've watched how the do it process has worked. Now, how did the idea for the book come about? Was it from your coaching, your consulting, your speaking? How did it come about?
So a little bit of everything, Terry, and you're mentioning the other books, which is totally spot on. So my first book was Do It Marketing. A lot of people think that they have or had back then a marketing problem. And what they really had is a differentiation problem or a specificity problem or a positioning problem. And then, of course, everyone wants more leads in the marketing process. And so the second book, Do It Speaking, the book that you held up earlier, it's not only for people like you and me who are professional speakers, but it's for the CEO, the founder, the expert who wants to use speaking as a lead generator or a one-to-many sales platform. So there's no, and again, this is not just speaking on stages, it's speaking virtually, it's webinars, it's podcasts, it's live streams, it's your YouTube channel. So in that book, we put speaking in a much larger box. The third book, because now we have, we're doing the marketing, we're doing some speaking. Now people realize, oh my gosh, I got a prospect on the line. I can't close the deal. I'm terrible at selling. I'm a terrible salesperson. And so I wrote the book, Do It Selling, because that specific book is for the person who literally hates to sell. There's a lot of books for people who are good at selling, want to get better at selling. There's very few books, maybe even only my book, that very specifically in print says, this is the book for you if you hate to sell. So I thought that was it. I thought I've solved the world's problems. I've got my 3 books. I'm ready to retire. I'm ready to get out of here. But over the past couple of years, especially since AI came on the scene, right? Now everyone's an expert. Now everyone's a thought leader. Everyone can create, little funny videos and make clones of themselves saying and doing all kinds of crazy things and jumping out of airplanes. So the noise factor has been cranked up by a factor of 1,000,000. And I'm not exaggerating because when you talk about AI, there's literally millions more pieces of content being cranked out by the robots than any humans have ever done before. So now we have to ask ourselves, well, where do humans still have an edge in this hyper noisy AI driven world? And it is in this new area called market eminence. And I'll tell you, when we say a hyper noisy world, there's so much content. And here's David Newman saying, oh, by the way, you got to get visible. I'm not saying compete with the same kind of content. So what we say, how we say it, what we do, how we do it also has to change. And I put this in the book. The 3 things that AI is still not good at, and this is late 2025, early 2026, someday it may be good at everything. Someday it may be able to fix your plumbing. But right now, the 3 things where humans have the edge and where I'm advising all of my clients and audiences to double down, 3 areas of content that you should start teaching, preaching, posting, and writing about. Number 1, stop posting how-to content. How-to content is dead AI can do how-to content better than you, me, and a million of our smartest friends. So now as humans, we have to move to how to think content, literally how to think content. So higher level strategic insight information has now been commoditized thanks to AI. No more information coming from you or coming from me, but strategic, quirky, experience-based insight, war stories, battle scars, right?
Nice.
Don't do this, do that. How to think is category number one. Category number two of content that will get attention is what to believe, and more importantly, what not to believe. So how can you separate the signal from the noise? How can you separate the wheat from the chaff? How can you separate the myths from the truths? And then category number three is where to focus for what's coming next. Because I will tell you, every CEO, every entrepreneur, every high-level person, the thing they hate the most is being surprised, ambushed, and sideswiped by something that they could have seen coming but didn't. So how can we start to develop a crystal ball around our expertise and say, here's what's coming 3 months down the road. Here's what's coming 6 months down the road. Here's some trend spotting. Here's some predictions that I'm going to make based on where the world is going. So like Wayne Gretzky, you can actually help your people go to where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is today. So when I say get visible, get credible, start putting content out in the marketplace, it's these three areas, Terri: how to think, what to believe, and what not to believe, and then where to focus to get ready for what's coming next. Those are uniquely human pieces of content that right now humans have the edge over any AI platform.
Absolutely right on. I mean, right on. And one of the things that we know is that this generation cannot be told what to think or what to do. But when you tell a story, it's intriguing, regardless of whether you're presenting a case in court, whether you're presenting a sales presentation, whether you're presenting a church. I mean, wherever you're presenting, everybody's always presenting.
Yeah.
And you're right. That what's beautiful about humans is that each one of us has our own computer up here. So we filter those experiences differently. So you can have a selling experience, I can have a selling experience, and we will talk about it differently.
Yeah.
And we will use conversational intelligence, emotional intelligence, behavioral style information. I mean, everything, like you said, designed to how did that person want their eggs. So that was
Yes.
really right on. So we know that some of the CEOs, some of the leaders are kind of avoiding this because they're kind of going, oh, what, AI, here we are. What can we do with this book that says, why are they avoiding it? And why don't they embrace the fact that they have this uniqueness in the industry? I mean, I don't care if we're all selling milk. It's how we sell it, how we connect.
Right.
Tell me about that.
So I think a lot of CEOs and founders are, because I talk about one of the ways to get attention genuinely is to reveal a new level of authenticity. Meaning, what are you for? What are you against? What's right with the world? What's wrong with the world? So this can be divisive. And when I say the word divisive in 2026, that usually has some negative political connotation. It's red versus blue, your guy versus my guy. This has nothing to do with that. But it still scares the heck out of people because they have to be polarizing. They have to risk not being liked. And what I tell my audiences and what I tell my clients is the very first thing that we talk about when we get into this kind of thought leadership build out is there's going to be people that disagree with you. There's going to be haters that come out of the woodwork. And how do you feel about that? And then right then and there, they want to stop. Oh, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do, but what if someone doesn't like us? What if we get a negative review on one of the online sites? What if someone complains? What if our stock price tanks? What if all of a sudden, and I said, okay, well, hang on, wait a second. I want you to think of your business like a giant electromagnet. And if we turn on this market eminence engine, the electromagnet will go to work pulling in the best fit people. And by that, I mean every kind of person that you want your company to come in contact with. Best fit prospects, best fit investors, best fit talent, best fit partners, possibly even best fit acquirers, people that you want to buy your business or buy your company. And it's going to be hugely attractive to those people. Now, like any electromagnet, it's got two polarities, positive and negative. You turn that electromagnet around, Terry, it's going to have this incredibly repelling force, and it's going to repel all the bad fits. And this is where people get scared. And they go, oh, I'm not sure we want to do that. I'm like, well, hang on, wait a second. I just said you're going to repel the bad fits, the people that you would never want to do business with, the people that you would never want to have come work for you, the people that you would never want to partner with, the people that you would never take their investment money because they're so toxic and they're not aligned with your vision. They don't believe what you believe. So we actually do a little whiteboard exercise. And we said, give me the characteristics of all of your worst clients, your worst employees. So not aligned with the mission, don't believe right, don't work hard, lack integrity, lack ethics, lack moral vision, don't pay their bills on time if they're a client, come in late, leave early, and do the minimum if they're an employee. And I say, okay, so let me ask you this. If we set up a magical gate, a magical fortress around your business, and I point to the whiteboard and I said, these are all the people you just told me that you want to keep out. And this magical gate just keeps them out, and it lets everyone else in through the front door. Would you want me to build that gate? Yes or no? And they stop and they think and they look at the whiteboard and they go, you know, David, I think we do want to build that gate. And it's like, yes, well, that's market eminence. Welcome to the party.
Gosh, I just can't wait to share this information with people that I know are battling it out in the marketing. And here's the thing, people, you know this, those of us that have been around for a while, you know, it always worked. It always worked. Well, it doesn't work today because there's so many different forces, nuances, initiatives, strategies, platforms, oh, you name it. And you've got, you know, a global look as opposed to just a hyper local look. So good for you.
Yes.
You know, you talked about being contrarian. Would that be part of what you were talking about?
Absolutely. Being contrarian, go against the grain, bust some myths, share some uncomfortable truths, some radical truths about your business, about your industry, about the practices that are in your field, about things that prospects behind closed doors, your prospects, your customers, your clients, they will start to complain about your category of product, service, or business. You know, so for years and years and years, I have been a professional consultant. I've been a marketing consultant. I can tell you 20 things that most people hate about marketing and another 25 things that most people hate about consultants. And when you start to rail against those broken or outdated practices that do not serve clients, the prospects and the world at large says, well, this must be one of the good guys. This must be one of the good gals. This must be someone who gets it because they know all the things that are missing, funky, broken, and sad about this whole industry,
Yeah,
about this whole
exactly.
product category, about this whole service category. So they're not going to do this to me. Even if I've got burned, screwed, and let down before, this person that I'm talking to that is, you know, so passionately articulating what's right with the world, what's wrong with the world, etc., they're not going to hurt me. The other thing that I tell people is, and this is just kind of a radical truth that sometimes is a wake-up call for people. I hope it is for folks listening. If you don't risk turning some people off, you will never turn anybody on. It is very tough to get passionate about vanilla. It is very tough to get excited about middle of the road, average, gray, and bland. So the more you can do to add some edge, to add some truth, some truth telling, some powerful differentiation in the marketplace to what you do, how you do it, what you stand for, what you stand against, that is going to be enormously powerful in turning on that giant electromagnet we talked about a moment ago.
Yeah, well, for sure. And you talk about the way you set this book up. So do it speaking for those of you that don't have it. The chapter can be one page long. I
Yes,
mean, which is really pretty good because that's easy to consume as opposed to War and Peace. And in this book, you have two subtitles, or like a super title for Mavericks,
that's
and then you
right.
have another one for Visionaries and Change Makers. Uh,
Yes.
Talk about how does that work?
Sure. So Mavericks, Visionaries, and Changemakers, I wanted to let people know that this is not your average boring how-to business book. Uh, I could certainly write another average boring how-to business book, but that would kind of go against the flavor of everything we've been talking about in this whole show. So there's literally, Terry, in the book, there's 22 different principles and practices. There's a section in each of those called How to Think. Because obviously, if I'm telling you that you need to create how to think content, I need to provide how to think
Okay.
content for you. So this is like a very powerful little manifesto. It is a very, very short book. It is way shorter than any of my three previous books. And it is specifically geared to help you stand out by becoming more of who you are. So I want to draw another quick distinction here. When you talk about personal branding or company branding, a lot of times we think about putting things on to your company, putting things on to your personal brand, right? It's like putting on a set of new clothes that don't really quite fit and it's weird and itchy and it doesn't feel good. Market eminence is the opposite. Market eminence is about stripping away all the gunk, all the junk, all the politeness, all of the risk aversion. Like, well, we've always believed this, but we've never said it out loud. We've always done this, but we've never talked about it on our website. We've always, gone a little bit differently than the rest of our industry, but we never talk about it because we're afraid it might scare people off. And this is what you need to do in today's marketplace to be, to get more attention, to get more respect, to get more credibility, literally because of who you are, not just because of what you say. So this is not
Exactly.
about cheap publicity or PR stunts or being weird for the sake of being weird. This is really about an authentic connection to the very best people in the marketplace, the very best audiences. And by that, I mean all of those stakeholders we talked about: prospects, clients, customers, talent, media, partners, investors, acquirers. All of those people are lost in the noise. They're lost in the fog. And you need to be the beacon. You need to be the lighthouse that is cutting through at 10,000 amps. I'm not even sure what 10,000 amps is. 10,000 lumens. 100,000 lumens is what you need to have in your lighthouse so you can be the beacon that keeps all your little ships away from the rocks and into safety. That is the ultimate level of respect. When they see you as the industry standard, we're going to listen to them. We're going to follow them. They just came out with a research report. I just got their latest newsletter. I read on their website, and now they're quoting you as the authority that represents and speaks for your entire industry. Once you get that, that is market eminence.
Yeah, and transparency right now is critical. It goes right there with trust. And
Yes,
when you talked about it, you said, yeah, you're gonna find people that don't like what you say or how you say it, and they are entitled to that. Nobody needs their eggs the same way.
right.
And yet, uh, in order to stand out, you don't, like you said, you don't have to be bizarre, but you just have to be the best you, which
That's
is
right.
what I think I'm hearing here. But I'm sure that because you've had people reviewing the book and enjoying part of the book, you've had a couple of ahas that have come through. Did anything surprise you with that at all? I mean, were there some specific ahas
So,
or
yes, I will tell you. And again, this is early days that we're talking about this. I was expecting a lot of pushback because, of course, I tell my clients, I tell my audiences, expect some pushback. People are not going to like what you have to say. When you start talking these radical truths and very clear, specific kitchen table English, and you're separating the myths from the truths and the, signal from the noise. I've not had any hate mail yet. Now, people listening, people watching, if you want to send me some hate mail just to validate that I am, in fact, talking my talk here and talking my walk, I would welcome your hate mail. But literally, Terry, the most surprising thing is no one has said to me, this is ridiculous. This is professional suicide. I mean, I already have the criticism in my head, right? This is professional suicide. No serious company is ever going to do this. This is dangerous. This is silly. This sounds like flavor of the month nonsense. And it's like I'm just waiting. I'm sitting here waiting, and I would feel if I were to get that, I would feel validated and relieved. I'm like, oh, thank God someone hates this book. Because if no one hates this book, then no one really loves this book either. But again, it's early days. I'm counting on you haters to come out of the woodwork and bring it on. I'm ready.
There are just people that, how can I say this? I think there's just people that have to be mismatchers. You know, you can say X and they'll say Y, and you'll
That's
say
right.
Y.
That's right.
And I understand that because I work in sales with and as a consultant with a lot of people. And
Yes.
change is hard. Let's just admit it. I mean, change, especially if you're over 7 years old, change is hard because you've had such good validation that it's worked for the last 20 years. And
Sure.
yet, you know, you just the how-tos, how to it has changed, it has shifted.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the shifting takes a little bit of discovery. And I think that's what I'm getting from what you've already shared with the book. And it might be, how did you figure this out? I mean, because I know you've been a avid follower of marketing trends. You pay attention, which
Yes.
by the way is really hard today because we're getting no, we just are the whole neuroplasticity of our brain is being rewired because everything is short, fast, and it's skimming, and we don't
Yeah.
really get the meat or the story behind the story. So
Sure.
just before we let you go, how did you decide? Okay, time for another book. Time for a book
Yes.
on market eminence.
So this is a combination. So the DNA threads, the DNA components of this, A, none of them are new, and B, none of them are uniquely mine. How's that for an author to say? So when we look at topics and trends that I've been helping clients with for decades, positioning, differentiation, articulation, distinction, looking at kind of, everything that sets you apart, every reason, genuine reason that a client should buy from you, that a candidate should come work for you, that an investor should acquire or invest in your business. Uh, what are the DNA threads that make someone excited to buy from a company? What are the DNA threads that make someone excited to come to work for a company? What are the DNA threads that make a media source interested in interviewing a company or featuring a company, putting them on the cover of a trade publication or a magazine, asking them to speak at their national convention for their entire industry? What are those things? And I put all of those things together in a system and a little bit of a formula that you'll find inside the Market Eminence book that says, well, this is how you do it. And then the new layer, of course, that is present day that didn't exist 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, is how do we do this in a world driven by AI where you can't really tell what's real and what's not? You can't tell what's human versus what's machine generated. And there's so much more shiny objects and sparkly distractions and crazy, silly nonsense that most people that you're trying to reach and that you're trying to impact, they're lazy, busy, and befuddled, more so than ever. What's going to cut through that? And so taking all these building blocks and looking at them through this lens, that's how we got to the 22 strategies in the book.
That's so amazing because it's designed differently than your other books. I mean, I'll just pull this one. It gives you scripts, it gives you
Yes.
responses, it's set up. But this book you've set up with with prompts, spark questions,
Yes, mind
uh,
spark questions.
and exercises. And I don't know about you, open a book and you see an exercise, and you're like, oh man, what do I got to do here? Tell us, how did that shift for you? How did we change?
Sure. So this is either the smartest strategy ever or the dumbest strategy ever. When I sit down and I do a deep dive day with a client, right? We come in, there's a kind of a run of the day, and there's questions and there's facilitation and there's so I just basically put what I would do to a client, for many, many, many thousands of dollars. I put those same prompts, those same questions, those same thinking exercises, those same things to write down, record, process into the book. I put them into the book. So if people want to run their own deep dive day, set aside 4 to 6 hours on a given day, lock your senior leadership team in a boardroom, in a conference room with some whiteboards and flip charts and say, okay, market eminence. Chapter 1, let's have a look, right? How are we doing on these questions? What are our answers, right? Let's spark some conversation around the mind spark questions. Let's actually do this very simple 3 or 4 step exercise. So it's meant to both prompt your thinking and prompt your leadership level decision making. If you want to do that without me, no problem. I wrote a book. You can do it without me. If you want to do it with me, and then it's like, oh, what's he gonna bring that's not in the book? The answer is not much. The answer is not
Yeah.
much. I'm going to bring some process. I'm going to bring some accountability. I'm going to bring some facilitation skills. We're probably going to have a richer, deeper discussion. You might get to a better answer faster with me in the room than with rather you guys just kind of looking at the book on your own. But it literally is, it's a deep dive consulting day in the covers of a book.
Wow, that's so good because I've gone through your consulting and I can tell you everybody needs a coach. And as a business consultant, I never like to use the word coach. I can help you see what you're not looking at. And so
Yes.
often we get a little, unclear. The one sin I see is, and it's not really a sin, but we work harder in the business than on the business. And
Yeah.
what this does is it puts a beautiful uh, strategy, system, process over
Yes.
how to look at your business differently. So
Yes.
if you've hit a, if it's time for a facelift, what I always say, or a reignite, or a rebrand, and it doesn't have to be a completely different brand. It can just be a refresher, on your brand.
Oh,
That would
yes.
be helpful. So, if readers walk away with just one thing in this book, what would you hope personally? And I know that you're. This is David, by the way, kids. This is not. He's always like this. Um, what would they walk away with?
So I'm going to quote the great business philosopher Jerry Garcia of the
Oh,
Grateful Dead.
yeah.
And Jerry Garcia, once he was asked about the success of the Grateful Dead and, weird and quirky and niche and, very, very odd. And he says, well, you don't want to be considered the best of the best because he knew that there was always going to be a better musician, a better guitarist, a better singer, right? You don't want to be considered the best of the best. You want to be considered the only ones who do what you do. And that is the purpose and point of market eminence. I will leave you with that thought from the great Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, and there are young people that think that's just an ice cream from Ben and
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I was with somebody and we talked about the Beach Boys and he goes, "Well, who are the Beach Boys?" And I said, "Well, with your tight skin and your judgment, you know, they were the
Yes.
best." But you're so right. So, David, here's the thing. People can read the book and then they may want more of you. And I
Yes.
know that the wife does guard your time
Yes.
because this is the thing with him. I mean, he's dedicated to helping people advance their skill sets, advance who they are, what they do, because only you can do it how you do it. And that's part, I think, of what market eminence is going to uh, blossom for a lot of people, if I can say that. But if somebody wanted you
Yeah.
to speak,
Sure.
if somebody wanted to interview you, or if somebody wants to buy the book, all those three things, tell me
Yes.
how they would do that.
Fantastic. So thank you. The main website is doitmarketing.com, and that lays out all the different speaking and services and contact page and everything. And then the free resources, training, videos, and downloads that are tied to the book that you can get for free are at marketeminence.com. So to get in touch with me, Do It Marketing, it's my company name, doitmarketing.com. All the book goodies are waiting for you at marketeminence.com.
And they can get those now.
They can get those now.
Come on now. And then if they want to sign it, is there a pre-sale for the book in January?
There is. So before the end of 2025, when we're recording this, you can get the Kindle book at a reduced rate of 99 cents. When it goes on public launch in January, then it's going to be the paperback, the Audible audio version of the book,
good.
And the Kindle all at full price. So for the folks that love a deal, hop in before December 31st.
Such a deal, such a deal. Well, David, I want to thank you for joining us because you've always been so generous and just flat out, no extra fancy stuff. Just tell me what to do and how to do it. I know, and by the way, being an aficionado of having actually even created an audible book, David's voice is fun to listen to because it's very animated. And for those of us that are slightly auditory, you're going to enjoy that. So go to doitmarketing.com, go to marketeminence.com and get your freebies. Come on, 99 cents. You got that much money in your sofa or under the seat of your car. So
Totally.
Go and get it. Yeah. David, thanks for joining us. And I think in January we might follow up if that's
Yes, I hope so. That'd be great. Thanks,
in the
Terri.
meantime, thanks so much for joining us. Join us again for another segment of In the Men's Room with Murph, and in this case, David Newman, coach, consultant, author, speaker. I would just say all around amazing guy. Thanks so much for joining us.